City Council chambers, and the first item on the agenda is a roll call. Clerk Bachman, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Balk.
Here.
Mayor LaRussa.
Here.
Councilmember Parkins.
Here.
Councilmember Schneeman.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Here.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able, please stand and face the flag. I'd like to welcome the Girl Scouts from Troop 77976 to come up and please lead the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nice work. Thank you, ladies. The next item on the agenda is the first public comment of the evening. This is the portion of the meeting where members of the public who wish to address the City Council may do so. We ask that you please state your name and address for the record. If you could keep your comments to 3 to 5 minutes, that would be great. And remember, public comment is not a dialogue. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on topics that are relevant either to the agenda or to your personal self. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the City Council at this time?
Trip over that.
Yeah, don't trip.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Laboué. I live at 23790 Gill Road at Oakland, and I've been a resident of Farmington Hills and Farmington for 50 years. Last 15 here in Farmington. And I have a couple of topics to speak about. One is letter grades, and the second one is the Farmington Public Schools Board of Education proclamation. And yeah, I'm unhappy. As I have looked and studied the Farmington Public Schools results for the last 6 years, I have commented frequently on the percentages of reading proficiency and other proficiency that they get on state tests. And as a result, I spent a lot of time in front of the board working on my 3-minute comments. But here's where they stand. What would you say if you got a 56% on the test? Right, that's an F. And I finally realized that the board couldn't deal with percentages and they wouldn't set a goal. So what they did was ignored it. And so I said, well, let's get their letter grade scale and look at it. Farmington's reading proficiency is 56%. Yes, that's an F. Not good at all. And as a matter of fact, the state of Michigan is ranked 43rd in its educational achievement. Not real good. And that means that there are 44% of our students who can't read at grade level. Imagine how they're going to make out when it comes time for AI or applying for a job, and it's a problem. So what I have recommended, and it's in the book, page 8 and 9, I took my Farmington notes, and I'm spreading them out of the state because they're part of that 43% statewide. And what I did with that was I said, let's do something about these. Let's not just complain. So what I did was I said, it takes the state forever to fix something. Why don't we start by just telling everybody how bad we are? And we'll have plenty of company because Novi is the bestest in Michigan, and it has a C rating, and Southfield has an F minus. So my recommendation is let people know what it is, and then let's us get to work on fixing it, because nobody else will. The second point I had wanted to speak about was the Farmington Public Schools DEI proclamation. Now, when they issued that, they just called it a proclamation because they were afraid to call it DEI. And the third paragraph of that says, whereas despite the greater Farmington community having been founded by abolitionist Quakers and being a stop on the Underground Railroad, it is acknowledged that there is a long history of racism, discrimination, and segregation within our community, which has adversely impacted educational outcomes for many racial groups. And that not only insults all of you, it insults the 40-plus, or the 40 soldiers on the plaque in the square out here, or the triangle, who died to eliminate slavery. And that's been out there since 2020. And I ask every once in a while, get rid of this dang thing. And they don't. So I think it's time that somebody else step up, because they don't listen to me. So we need some mass behind that to say, you know, it would be real nice if you guys would take that away. And particularly when you consider that over the last 10 or 12 years, we have lost 25% of our students. 25%, they didn't get lost. We know they're in Farmington, but they go to other school districts. So we have a 25% loss. And for years, I was comforted by the fact they said, well, everybody else is losing people, and that's why we're closing a high school and getting rid of your neighborhood schools one at a time. And the board doesn't view this as a problem. They've never placed it at the top of their priority list. And frankly, I think it's time for somebody else to join us, and we have a few, to make this thing work, not only in Farmington Hills, but in the state of Michigan. I'd appreciate your help.
Thank you for your comment. Are there other members of the public who wish to address the city council at this time? Mr. Sweeney, the floor is yours.
Mayor LaRussa, members of council, members of staff. My name is Mike Sweeney. I'm one of your emergency preparedness commissioners. My office is at 26105 Orchard Lake Road. This is on the FEMA calendar for preparedness, severe weather week, which is very timely. I don't know about all y'all, but my power went out last night. would like to give an attaboy to DTE. They put in their local sensors, and you just sitting there, that the power went off. You heard everything kind of power down, and in my head, somewhere I heard there's an IT guy somewhere watching his different things. He saw this happen, so he shut off these switches, put on those switches. 5 minutes later, power came right back on. Thank you all for doing that. But that doesn't help us with the rest of the weather that's coming around. This Wednesday, the Oakland County Emergency Management Group is going to run their new test. They didn't do a test in the beginning of the month because there was a bad weather day that day. So they're going to do a special test on Wednesday. The alarms are going to go off, so people will all know that it's time to head for the basement. The Preparedness Commission would like, in advance of that, for all y'all to go to your house, find your safe room. In my case, the safe room is downstairs in the basement underneath the main stairwell. Well, I went down there and checked it, and there was a couple of buckets and a couple of extra chairs and some boxes. I don't know where they came from. So in the middle of the night, if we're running down there to get away from a tornado, we'd be tripping over a whole bunch of stuff. Well, now that it's all neatly organized, put away to the side, I have a lantern sitting on the side there, one of my little wind-up radios. So if the alarm goes off, I can go downstairs with my wife, bring the dog. We've got a safe place to be. We'd like to encourage everyone else to do the same thing. I don't know where your safe place is. If you have children in the house, this would be a good time to do a family fire drill, so that when the alarm goes off, everybody already knows what to do. You just execute the plan. Also this Wednesday, the National Weather Service is doing a free Skywarn class. They'll train members of the public to look at the sky with an educated eye to understand, what does this mean? Now, we all know, get used to the Michigan weather guys. They're wrong half the time, and they still get to keep their jobs. That always amazes me. You talk about 44%. It just always amazes me. But Skywarn teaches you to see the sky the way they see the sky. So you don't have to wait for them to tell you, hey, there's a thunderstorm coming. You've got the family out on a picnic. You can look at it. Yep, time for us to go someplace safe. This Wednesday night at the Hawk Community Center from 7 o'clock to 8:30, there is a class. We'd like to encourage you all to go to that. And the next thing is, in the lobby right now, there's a flyer on how to prepare your car for emergencies. That's another conversation for another time. But on the inside, there is a QR code. This QR code will hook your cell phone directly into Oak Alert. When you go to sleep at night, sometimes you don't hear the alarms, but if you've got your phone hooked up to Oak Alert, and it charges the batteries, of course, it can go off and tell you that it's time to head for the basement. Turn on the flashlight that my nephew showed me. My phone has a flashlight. I have the flashlight. I can now walk down to my safe room. We'd like all y'all to do the same thing. Like to get through this Michigan spring weather. There's a note on here right now, the weather's being weird out there. So I'm gonna go outside and take a look at the sky and decide what weird means to me. Anyway, that's your preparedness tip for the month. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Thank you for your comment. Any other members of the public who wish to address the city council at this time? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Before we move on the agenda, I'm going to take a little moment of personal privilege to acknowledge a bit of a tragedy in a neighboring community in Huntington Woods. We see DPW personnel out and about doing their work a lot, and I think it's worth reminding ourselves that the work that they do can be dangerous, and they are going in to do some unsafe things, especially with the weather being as bipolar or schizophrenic as it's been. So a gentleman in Huntington Woods, DPW Doug Shamil, responded to a situation in his community and unfortunately lost his life in the course of his work. So I just would appreciate it if we could take a short moment of silence to acknowledge Doug's service to Huntington Woods and to also be grateful for our own DPW. So. Thank you all very much. Josh, please know that we're always thinking about your team and what they do for us, and it's not lost on us the amount of work that they have to do, and sometimes they have to put themselves in harm's way, and we appreciate that they do that for us every day. Thank you for that. Moving on, the next item on the agenda is approval of the items on the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Balk, supported by Ms. Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. That brings us to item 5, approval of the items on the regular agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support. Motion by Mrs. Balk, supported by Mr. Parkins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously as well. That brings us to item 6, presentations and public hearings. The first item there is Drake Road Crossing and Sidewalk Connection, Girl Scout Troop 77976. Ladies, the floor is yours.
We are Troop 77976, and we are working towards earning our silver award. We go to Power Middle School, and we are in 8th grade. I'm Sophia, and I've been doing Girl Scouts since first grade.
I'm Lauren, I've been doing Girl Scouts since first grade. I'm Emma, and I've been doing Girl Scouts since fourth grade. I'm Lily, and I've been doing Girl Scouts since kindergarten. There are multiple awards you can get in Girl Scouts. There is a bronze, silver, and gold award. You can get the bronze award in 4th or 5th grade, the silver award in middle school, and the gold in high school. To get your award, you need to do a certain number of service hours. The project has to be sustainable and help the community. Lastly, you need to share your knowledge with others about your projects. One of the requirements to getting our silver award is doing a journey. The one we picked is called a maze, which helps focus on building relationships, navigating friendships, managing peer pressure, and resolving conflicts. We hosted an anti-bullying night where we did 4-corner trivia, talked about how to be a defender and stand up for yourself, and watched a bullying movie.
Another event we did was the Power Middle School Diversity Fair. During the Diversity Fair, we played games with our middle school peers and taught them about what we did as Girl Scouts. At that time, we also collected birthday and bag donations for the Oakland County Foster Closet.
We brainstorm multiple options, to help our community. We brainstorm changing school food, putting in a bike rack or a little library, and putting in a crosswalk. After brainstorming, we ultimately chose to put in a crosswalk. We chose this project because many people live in the complex who want a safe way to cross the road to get to the park. This will also improve safer way to cross for schools, for pedestrians, to help with speeding on the road, and it will make our city overall more walkable.
We have contacted community members to find out where there were crosswalks needed. Then we reached out to Pathway Committee members and city employees to find out if installing a crosswalk was possible. One sec. And to see what we had to do to have it installed. We contacted community members both in person and via email to find out if this was possible. For our outreach, we are planning to do a crosswalk safety 101 for elementary students. We would go over the basics of crossing a road and what to look for. We would like to invite a police officer to demonstrate safety techniques. We would also talk about the new and improved crosswalks in Farmington.
For amenities, we had multiple options of what we could do, like a bench, sign, or a break. We're still deciding what to do. The crosswalk will also be equipped with lines on the road, signs, and bumps on the end of the sidewalk to let people know they're going into the road. Thank you for taking our project into consideration to listening to our presentation. Are there any questions?
Questions from the council? Mr. Schneeman.
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say thank you for your efforts to try and make Farmington more walkable. That's something that I know is a high priority for everybody up here at the dais. And so I just want to commend you for your hard work and hope that that's not the end of your hard work to help Farmington become a better place.
Mrs. Polk.
I'll second that. You showed the one picture of the bench, and my husband and I walk that way weekly, so I've actually walked past some of you guys as we're going, but I just really appreciate and well done. This is not easy to get up in front of everybody and be on TV, in case you didn't know that part. And so just really well presented, and we really appreciate it. And yes, I second Mr. Schneeman's comment that we hope this isn't the last we see of you. We'd like to see you be involved with more things because we appreciate it. And if we all do a little bit, think of what all we can get done.
Ms. Taylor.
Thank you so much for stepping up and doing this. It's a big deal because these days everyone talks a big talk like online on social media, and doing that versus going out and actually getting something good done in your community it's so rewarding. You're gonna walk by this, you're gonna see it, use it yourself, your friends will use it, and just to know that your work and your love for your community led to something you can actually see that makes a difference every day is the most rewarding thing ever. I hope that you all decide to run for city council when you grow up or for student council before you grow up. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And by the way, here's our chair of our Pathways Committee is here in the audience, so please make sure that you say hi.
Ladies, thank you very much. Just echoing all the comments that you've heard. I mean, staying engaged with the project. I think you're aware there's a grant we've received to do some sidewalk work on Drake Road, so we're excited about that. I think the crosswalk makes a lot of sense. Your timing couldn't be more perfect to take advantage of the work that's already planned for Drake Road, and I'm looking forward to walking with you across the crosswalk because I think we do need something there, and I think you're spot on with your target area. So stay engaged, keep talking to the Pathways Committee, keep talking with the city administration. These are the people that get it done around here, so just want to be an encouragement to you, and I hope it's not the last time we see you in the council chamber. Thank you, ladies. Okay, another moment of privilege would, is there a desire for you guys to photograph the troop while they're here, or with the council, or would that be all right? I know it's an impromptu moment, and I know you're all prepared to be photographed this evening, I'm sure, so. Is that okay? So let's get the council down there really quick.
Boy.
State of the cities and now the council chambers.
See how many of the Power Middle School students are taller than one of the council.
Ladies, step forward. Me and Parkins and probably Taylor need to be behind you.
I own it.
All right. Oh. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you again, ladies. Thank you, council. That brings us to item 6B, the next presentation, food waste recycling. Mr. Sapo, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thanks for having me tonight. It's a privilege to follow the Girl Scouts. I've had the honor of working with a few Girl Scouts over the years on their Gold Award project, and if I were to guess, you're going to see these young women back in front of you with their Gold Award projects, figuring out how they can best impact the community sometime in the future. So it's nice to see them. So a couple of things I want to talk about tonight. One is obviously the 2025 metrics and the program performance in your materials management. And I'm not going to belabor that if for no other reason. You probably get bored of me coming here every year and saying how great the community did and how well the program performed, but also the mayor did share some of these metrics at his State of the City recently, and I'm proud to say that Farmington and its residents continue to be head and shoulders above most communities when it comes to recycling and composting and program compliance. The recycling rate last year was twice the state's recycling rate and well above the national average, so that's obviously something to be very proud of. And it had a big environmental impact. Also, when you look at the way the city managed its budget to accomplish those goals and objectives, it spent on a per capita basis 41% less than the regional median and regional average. So the city does a very good job of making sure that its contractors like Waste Management and its DPW are very efficient in accomplishing the things that need to be accomplished in the community and for the residents. So that's something to be proud of. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was the food waste and the pilot project that we started in the fall at the Pavilion with My Green Michigan and the farmers market and the community that goes to the Pavilion, throughout the week in addition to visiting that area on the farmers market. And it went very, very well. I have some numbers in your packet. More than 19,000 pounds of food waste were diverted from the landfills through that pilot project last year. People either bringing material that they may have generated in their homes nearby, or maybe they bought it at a restaurant or it's something that they bought at the farmer's market, and when they didn't want it, instead of throwing it in a trash can or in their trash at their home, it went to those carts that are at the Pavilion near the recycling carts, and that had an impact. The My Green Michigan portal, just in case you're interested, can provide some data on what that means in terms of the carbon equivalencies. What's that mean when you divert material from the landfill into a composting pathway? A couple of the numbers that are really interesting to me. The carbon equivalent is is equal to almost 950,000 cell phones getting charged. It's equal to 128 seedlings being planted. It's the equivalent of 874 gallons of gas being conserved. There's 8,600 pounds of coal being burned, for example. So the program is having an impact environmentally, and more importantly, the community's embracing it. When we talk to folks around the community, surveying people, we found that 92% of the community thought that diverting material, actually, I take it back, 98% of the community thought that diverting material from a landfill into composting, it was important. And 92% they said they would participate in a program like the drop-off or collecting at the curb. So we know that people are interested. When we talk to people at the farmer's market, when we see people's comments on social media, and when we talk to people just out in the street or talking to community members when we have an opportunity, people really like the program and they think it's a good idea and want to see it continued. So from that standpoint, the authority's currently going through, like municipalities do, through its budgeting process, and I have committed to continuing to include the My Green Michigan cart collection for the food waste at the pavilion in our next fiscal year's budget. So I had originally committed to do it through the fall and have it be a pilot program for a year. Assuming David and the rest of the board of directors approve our budget come April, we'll continue it at least through June 30th of 2027. So that's the plan. So happy to answer any questions you have about the 2025 metrics or the food waste drop-off. And I know further on the agenda, we have some potential action items to discuss. And I don't know if you want to talk about them now or should I wait till that agenda item comes up?
Questions from the council? Mike, we always appreciate you coming in and giving the metrics, and thank you for giving me the advanced copy. That was very helpful.
Of course.
It is a highlight for the city. It's definitely something that we do better than most. So that's always something that we like to include in occasions like the State of the City to talk about our sources of strength, and this is definitely one of them. If there's nothing further on the food waste, or on the metrics or the food waste recycling pilot, we can roll directly into food waste recycling agreements and MOU, which is the next item on the agenda. So, council, if there's nothing further on the metrics, okay, let's roll right into it.
Okay.
Go for it.
So what is on your agenda are two documents. One would be an amendment to your curbside service agreement with Waste Management to basically change the specifications of what yard waste is to include food waste. And that food waste description is what we have derived working with My Green Michigan and Spurt, the compost facility that takes the food waste and already takes your yard waste that is set out in the community. And it's also the same list of materials that we take at the carts out there at the pavilion. The other document is a memorandum of understanding with Spurt, which is the destination facility, as the compost facility in Wixom, to which your yard waste is currently delivered. And it basically memorializes the agreement that Spurt is willing to take the yard waste containing food waste from those residents who want to put food waste in with their yard waste on their yard waste collection day, and that's during yard waste season, April through December. This came about, it's a collaborative effort. It came about following a lot of conversations we've had in the space. US EPA has recommended protocols for how to manage organics. The state has recommendations on in goals, trying to reduce food waste by 50% by 2030. And then there are recycling rates that are built into state law. Part 115 is the nomenclature we use for that section of state law that regulates solid waste and recycling and composting. And when we talk to companies like Waste Management, they do this elsewhere in the country. It's if you go on their website or you look at their annual reports, they're proud of the fact that they can manage organics better than just putting them into a landfill. And certainly Spurt, which is the compost facility in Wixom, to which the My Green Michigan company takes the food waste, from the pavilion collection, they are perfectly capable of handling the food waste mixed in with the other organics, the grass and leaves and the branches and that type of stuff. And they're happy to have it. That operation is run by owned by a man named Bill Whitley, who's one of the most credentialed composters in the state. So we know that if it goes there, it's going to be made into soil amendment that will really meet the needs of his customers. We've done this in Wixom since 2024. We began piloting it there, and it's been essentially problem-free. We don't have great data on how much people are putting in their cans because we're not going through people's cans and looking to see if they're putting food in with their yard waste or unrolling their yard waste bags. We just go out to the site and see, do the trucks that deliver the material, can we see some food waste in with the yard waste? And the answer is yes, but we don't quantify it because it's just, not really something that we want to do and, get too nosy in what people are doing, sitting out in front of their home. We do know that folks participate based on survey data in Wixom, that about half the people are participating in the program. And based on our survey data, we think the participation rate in Farmington would be higher. Again, 92% of the response to a survey that we conducted in 2024 said that they would participate in that type of program. So we think it makes sense. And again, the contractor Waste Management is happy to do it with no change other than to change that one section of your agreement to change the specification. And the compost facility's happy to receive it. And from my standpoint, it seems like a no-brainer, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Give us 10 minutes, we'll find one. Questions from the council? Mr. Schneeman.
Mike, I'm glad to hear that the pilot program at the pavilion did well last year, and I had some initial concerns about it, and I think it had to do with odors and that sort of thing, but it didn't seem to be much of an issue. But those were in plastic containers, and I guess, the question I would have, it sounds to me like what you're talking about is having food waste of all sorts potentially thrown into paper containers and left at the street, mixed in with maybe grass clippings or leaves or sticks or whatever. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, so there'd be a few ways that it could be done. For those homeowners that already have a rigid container, a 35-gallon container that maybe is labeled compost or yard waste, they can put it in there.
Sorry, but I don't think there's that many people in our community that have that. I certainly don't. Maybe I'm
I don't. I know some people who do, though.
Yeah, there's a few in my neighborhood.
Yeah, so a few people do. That's in the specification. If you have yard waste, grass clippings or leaves or small enough
Is
branches.
that something we could request if we wanted to start composting?
Well, most of the containers that people are using are just their own, they got a 35-gallon can from Home Depot or Lowe's.
All the garbage cans that
Yeah, garbage cans.
no longer we're allowed to use after they
Exactly.
change the sizes?
Yep, and that's actually what we saw in many communities when you transition to carts for the trash. Then they just use those old trash cans for their yard waste, and a lot of people do use the paper yard waste bags. Now, inside those receptacles, where it's the bag or the rigid container, you could have it, and some people do, in the biodegradable plastic bags that people often will put the material in for transport to, like a drop-off at the pavilion.
Just suppose I'm not that tidy.
Yeah.
And my power's been out for a week, and I have 30 pounds of hamburger that went rotten, and I just toss that in my yard waste bag, and it's
You're certainly not obligated to put it in your yard waste bag. You can continue to put it in your trash, and there's no obligation for any resident to change their behavior whatsoever. But they now have the option of
I guess
recycling.
my question is, have you seen or have you heard of conditions in other communities that are doing this, like Wixom, for instance, where that's been an issue?
Not at all. No. And what we found is most people will exercise some common sense, and if it's something that they think's going to stink, then they're going to probably double bag it in plastic bags and put it in their trash. By and
Not the
large,
people with the common sense.
By and large, that we don't see any kind of odor issues. City of Ann Arbor's been doing this for probably 15 years, and no odor complaints there.
And they mix it in with their yard waste?
They mix it in with their yard waste, yes. And generally speaking, you know, because the stuff that you're going to put in, like, say, a paper yard waste bag, whether it's food waste or grass clippings or leaves, because it's only going to be in that bag for a limited amount of time, and it can get air to it, it doesn't go anaerobic. Things start to stink when they go anaerobic. But as long as there's air getting in
You
there,
also have issues with rodents?
we do not have any issues with
No,
rodents.
I've got a raccoon that fancies my waste
And I will
receptacle,
guarantee
and I
you-
would think in paper bags, it'd be real easy for him to get in.
Well, that raccoon probably is not fooled by any receptacle that you put in front of it. If you have something in a trash can or a cart or a bag, if he wants it, he's going to get it. What we have found, generally speaking, if a homeowner or neighborhood has a raccoon or rat problem, they have a raccoon or rat problem, irrespective of which receptacle they put the foodstuffs into. You put it in your trash can, they're going to get in the trash can, they're going to tear the bag open, they're going to get to it. I've experienced that in my home. If I put food waste in with the yard waste, they're going to get into there. But if I don't have a raccoon or a rat problem, adding food waste to your yard waste instead of having it in your trash can does not create that rodent problem.
Well, like I said, you know, the pilot program seemed to go well, and I didn't hear any concerns whatsoever. And so, I'm, you know, certainly willing to try this. Sounds to me like you're saying that you haven't really heard concerns from other communities that have been doing it for some time.
No, and there are some larger communities that are considering going down that pathway. I've heard recently the city of Warren, which is 56,000 households, is looking into it. And again, Ann Arbor's been doing it for, you know, well over a decade, probably 15 years. And now we're going into our will be our third full season in Wixom. In the last 2 years, we've got no complaints whatsoever. Likewise, you know, like the drop-off at the pavilion, there are other communities like Royal Oak at the Farmers Market, and Canton Township's got a pretty robust food waste collection program with My Green Michigan, likewise Ferndale. And I've yet to hear any of those program managers complain about odors or rodents or any type of other vectors. The key is, you know, obviously things have to be serviced regularly. If I were a homeowner and I had a bunch of food and I wasn't going to get it out on my regular collection day, I'm certainly going to double bag it and put it in the trash can, not try and save it for yard waste collection. But, you know, the My Green Michigan services the pavilion weekly. Waste Management is going to service your community and your neighborhoods weekly, and I just don't anticipate any problems.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions from the council? Ms. Taylor?
Is there a preference as to whether people should put it in yard waste bags or a separate yard waste bag or a separate container?
Not really. It's all going to go in the same truck. It really is homeowner preference. Generally speaking, I would say, you know, if you've got yard waste, just mix your food waste in it and make it easier on yourselves. And really, the food waste is going to tend to be higher in nitrogen, whereas your leaves and your branches are going to be higher in carbon, and those are a good mix. Generally speaking, you want 2 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen. So that's another reason why we don't think we see odors, is because when people are mixing those high nitrogen content items in with those high carbon content items, they kind of work together to keep odors down and you know, sort of keep that aerobic process working properly before it even gets to the compost site in Wixom.
I'm really excited for this. People have loved the recycling down, or food waste recycling down at the pavilion. I mean, I remember when we were first talking about it, it was right before Thanksgiving. Somebody made a joke about, could somebody bring down a turkey carcass and lob it in? And the response was, I mean, I don't think anyone would actually do that. It's more for like throwing away half a sandwich you ate at the farmer's market. I did not, obviously none of us went and looked to see if there was a turkey carcass in there, but I would not be surprised if there was, and I wouldn't be surprised if people put it out in the curbside recycling program too. We got a lot of positive feedback, a lot of people asking for this, so I'm really glad that we're doing it, and also that it's at no cost to Farmington residents or the city. So thank you.
And I'm the kind of guy that goes and looks in those carts pretty much on a weekly basis. I didn't see any turkey carcasses either.
This year.
And yeah, and I will say the program compliance has been really good. I mean, there are a few things once in a while that belong in there, but no more frequently than what you might see in a recycling cart. So I think the Farmington residents and the visitors to your downtown really understand what can and cannot go in those carts, and they've complied really well. The only time I've seen the carts really super full would be following the farmer's market. And what Walt had been doing is taking the carts around to the vendors, and if they didn't want to take the stuff that they're going to sell back to the farm, they could put it in those containers, which is it's better than throwing away. But that did also tell me there might be a rescue opportunity here, because if they're throwing in those carts stuff that they might have had for sale 10 minutes earlier, maybe there's some opportunity there that we can explore with some of the folks that care about hunger in our communities.
Mike, couple things for me. I was curious about Oakland County's materials management planning because I've been following that, and they presented to the South Oakland County Mayor's Association. So I noticed that they did a measurement and said that food waste is the largest component of landfill material, and they estimated it at 188,000 tons annually. That's a lot. So is there an indirect way? I don't know if the materials management plan has a method for ongoing measurement. Is there a way to indirectly measure the diversion of food waste to landfill by seeing a reduction in landfill intake
Yeah.
of food waste material? Is there an indirect way? I don't know if this is a discussion at the authority or with the county, with their materials management, but I would be curious if if we can't measure directly by what's going in the yard waste, is there an indirect measurement by saying, our landfills are filling up slower, we think it's because we're diverting all this food waste?
Yeah, that conversation taking place at the state level, the county level, and within the authority for sure. And there'll be several different ways that those measurements will take place. One will simply be to do some modeling. That 188,000 tons was based on some statistical modeling that a contractor did for the county. We'll also be looking at program performance, and we'll be tracking, like for the local communities, looking at for example, how the 2026 numbers, both yard waste, or now yard waste and food waste, hopefully, and landfilling, how do those numbers compare to historical norms, and put those on a per household and per capita basis so we can really track them well. That's one way. And then, obviously looking at the annual landfill reports that the state receives and then puts out. What do our numbers look like? And then I would expect that what we'll see sometime down the road is there'll be another study done, probably state-sponsored. Eagle sponsored this 2 or 3 years ago now, where, believe it or not, they send people out into landfills, divert the loads, and just go through the stuff that the trucks are dumping and categorize it and characterize it, and so they can do some discernment of how much of what's going in our landfill is food waste, how much is returnable bottles, how much is cardboard, how much it is, whatever the case may be, and derive those numbers, and they'll compare those numbers to old numbers from before these programs had their inception. Okay. But we're definitely keenly interested in tracking it without being, the going out and looking in people's trash cans or their recycling carts, because we don't want to do that, and folks don't want us to.
Gotcha. The other thing I noticed in the Wixom literature is you mentioned earlier these biodegradable liners that could be used for the food waste. Does Wixom use those? Do they offer that as an option, or any of these other communities? Or?
Yeah, so there's what we tend to do is just get some of those from My Green Michigan and Spurt and give them, and I think the DPW probably has some. I know we delivered a couple of boxes here last year. I don't know if the DPW has them or they're down in the manager's office, but those are things that we can get a shipment of those and have them on hand. And some communities will just get them gratis from the vendors and then give them out to residents when they want them. Another thing that could be done, and I'm not necessarily recommending this, but there's a company, Cascade Engineering, over in the Grand Rapids area. They're the same company that makes the trash and recycling carts. They also make this thing called a kitchen caddy, and it's about a 3-gallon, 2-gallon container. It kind of looks like the thing you'd have all your laundry pods in, and you put your food waste in there until it accumulates in the kitchen, keep it under the sink or whatever. A lot of people do that, and then they'll take it out and they'll dump it in. So there are different ways to go about it. We do like the biodegradable plastic bags because, to your point, Councilman, this stuff can smell, and if it's in one of those bags, it's going to really, cut down on those potential odors that the neighbors may.
Well, in the yard maintenance, I think food consumption is a daily thing. Yard maintenance, maybe not so much. So perhaps the accumulation patterns are going to look differently between yard maintenance and yard waste accumulation and food waste accumulation. So I think the more ways we can allow people to be flexible in capturing the material, as you've always said, the more ways we give people to participate, the higher the participation rate will be. So I think it's important that when we do our public education, that if that option is available with the biodegradable bags, I think that'll be a helpful option for people.
And if you approve going forward with the project, we've got all the collateral literature. All we got to do is change some, names and dates on it for your community. We'll make those all available to the administrative team so it can be on social media and on the website. And we'll have a whole new page dedicated to Farmington on our website. And we'll, put in our social media stuff and our electronic newsletter. So we'll help get the word out, including at the farmers market come when that season starts.
Super. Thank you again. You're welcome. If there's nothing further, council, is there a motion?
Move to amend the current solid waste recycling collection and disposal agreement between the City of Farmington and Waste Management and approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Farmington and Spur Industries, thus allowing Waste Management to collect food waste from residents curbside and deliver it to Spur Industries.
Support. Go ahead.
Support. Motion by Ms. Taylor, supported by Mr. Parkins. Clerk Bachman, will you please call the roll?
Falk.
Yes.
LaRussa.
Yes.
Parkins. Yes. Schneeman.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. Mr. Sapo, thank you as always.
Thanks for being leaders.
Thank you, council. That brings us to item 7B, cross-connection contract renewal. Mr. Leach, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council.
Is this thing on? Yeah, I don't know.
Good evening. No. Since 2014, we started a commercial cross-connection control program with Hydro Designs, which is now HydroCorp. And it's a 4-year renewal, or 5-year renewal on this one, and we're just looking to extend that contract for them to run our cross-connection control program, do the inspections, keep all the record keeping, and schedule the inspections. It's annual 4% increase a year. For the 5-year program, it's approximately $80,000. Willing to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the council? Real quickly, Josh, it says in here it allows Public Works personnel to focus on system operations and reliability. What, if we did this internally, what would the internal equivalent effort look like versus the 80-ish?
It just requires a lot of time for staff, and then you have to be properly trained.
Right.
You have to be ASSE certified through the state of Michigan.
Okay.
And we also intend on implementing or asking City Council in future to implement a residential cross-connection program, which is required by EGLE and the EPA.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. If there's nothing further, is there a motion?
Move to approve a 5-year contract renewal of cross-connection program contract with HydroCorp Incorporated of Troy, Michigan, for a total amount of $79,417.80 for the contract term that is billed monthly with a 4% annual increase, and allow city administration to execute the contract documents.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Balk, supported by Ms. Taylor. Clerk Bachman, will you please call the roll?
LaRussa.
Yes.
Parkins.
Yes.
Schneeman.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Falk.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. Item 7C on the agenda, consideration to approve amendment number 5 to the water services contract between the City of Farmington and the Great Lakes Water Authority. Back to you, Mr. Leach.
Every 4 years, the city of Farmington and Great Lakes Water Authority meet to review their contract and review data as far as maximum daily usage as well as hourly use. The only changes this time around is our max day usage drops from 2.1 million gallons a day to 1.86 million gallons a day. Obviously, we're use less water, and hopefully that lessens our rate increase, but if everybody's using less water, you're still gonna get the same increase. I'm willing to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the council? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to approve amendment number 5 to the existing water services contract with GLWA and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement on behalf of the city.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Parkins, supported by Mrs. Balk. Clerk Bachman, will you please call the roll?
Parkins,
Yes.
Schneeman,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Bulk,
Yes.
LaRussa.
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. Item 7D on the agenda this evening, consideration to approve purchase of replacement water meters. One more time, Mr. Leach.
Since 2013, the city has installed newer water meters, going to a radio read water meter. That in part might be part of our reduction in water use, for the simple fact that every time we read water meters quarterly, they can alert us to if there's a leak, and then we'll send notices to the residents, hey, please check your plumbing fixtures, it's possible you have a leak. 9 times out of 10, it's usually a toilet or a leaky faucet. So we're just asking for approval to purchase water meters. And then if you'll notice, one 4-inch water meter is on this request here. Willing to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the council? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Move to authorize the purchase of E-Series water meters from Blue Water Solutions of Auburn Hills, Michigan, in the amount not to exceed $70,000.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Taylor, supported by Mrs. Balk. Clerk Bachman, one more time.
Schneeman,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Bulk,
Yes.
LaRussa.
Yes.
Parkins.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, council. That brings us to item 8, public comment. This is the second part of the meeting where members of the public who wish to address the city council may do so. Is there anyone who wishes to make comment at this time? Seeing none, public comment is closed. That brings us to city council comments. Are there any members of the city council who wish to make comment this evening? I have a couple of things, and I have charts and graphs. Go ahead, Mrs. Balk.
I just have a quick, I would like to thank those that were appointed to the new Founders Festival Committee. They met on Tuesday night. I was not able to be there because I did not think it was fair to skip my husband's 60th birthday, but promise I'll be at the rest of them. But I do think some headway was made. I appreciate the input by all of our administration as well as those that are on the committee. And I am hopeful that we are on our way to having a great Founders Festival.
Thank you, Mrs. Balk. Other city council comments? Okay, I got DT's year-end numbers. I know you've all been anxiously awaiting them, so I brought copies for everybody.
Oh, thanks.
Liz Vogel's the new community relations manager responsible for Farmington. So she has been invited along with Derek Sanborn, who's the new operations lead for Farmington circuits, to come. This is their new tool that they have that pulls the data. So refresher, SAFE means frequency of outages. Katie means duration of outages for impacted customers, the isolation to the people who are actually impacted. And then SADI is the duration if you were to average it out across all customers on a given circuit. You can see DT's targets. You can see that for 2025, they met or exceeded, or they exceeded all 3 targets in terms of lower number is better. And you can see the improvements year over year. The next one is the progress to their 5-year plan in Farmington. You may recall they came to Farmington and presented their 5-year plan that had 4 objectives. And you can kind of see that their projections are that they are on track for SAFE and for SADE. They're already at the SADE results for duration based on their 30/50 reliability plan. So their overall goal was to reduce the number of outages on the system by 30% and restore 50% faster. And I think you heard Sweeney earlier mention that that's going in the right direction. The summary of Farmington circuits is the next thing I have to pass around. This basically says, in a given year, how many hours was the power on and how many hours was the power off. Very straightforward. In 2025, everyone in the 48335 zip code, their power was interrupted for 2.31 hours in a year. 48336, 2.61, but if you just look at the Farmington customers, it was 1.7 hours total. The weighted average chart, this is what I usually distribute in the council meeting, so you'll be familiar with this one. It's another way to look at the dashboard data that DTE put out, but you'll see that since 2021, which was kind of the first year, 2022, excuse me, where we first brought them in to discuss the situation, you can kind of see that the numbers have gotten significantly better. 65% reduction in frequency. The only reason it was at 1.1 they mentioned was because there were planned outages to make upgrades to the system. So the frequency was higher, but as you can see, the duration numbers are extremely lower. 95% improvement over 2021 numbers, 85% improvement over 2021 numbers on Katy duration. The detailed circuit data I'll send around. There were a couple of circuits that were above target for frequency. They are not the usual suspects.
Really?
So you may recall in previous meetings, we discussed Farmington 5 and Drake 5 being the usual suspects. This year, or 2025 rather, it was Farmington 2, Farmington 3, and Farmington 6 that were above DTE's target if I look at individual circuits. So for as a refresher, Farmington 2 is roughly Farmington Road to Orchard Lake between Shiawassee and 10 Mile. Farmington 3 is roughly Maple to Orchard Lake between 9 Mile and Shiawassee. And Farmington 6 is roughly Floral Park. All of those circuits are shared with Farmington Hills. So I say roughly because that's the portion that services Farmington. So I do think there's still work here. However, the fact that they've shifted, the numbers are showing that there's improvement on the usual suspects and some flyers on Farmington 2, 3, and 6. Again, DT's explanation was, well, we planned work in those areas, so we had to shut the power off to do our work. So the expectation is in 2026 that things will continue to improve. I've invited them to a future council meeting. I would also probably recommend that we go from quarterly requests for data to maybe semi-annual, just mid-year and end of year. They've shown significant progress. There's a 95% improvement in SADE, 85% improvement in Katy. I think we can give them some grace maybe and say twice a year is enough, unless others feel differently. But that's the DTE update. As soon as they reply to either David or myself of which meeting they'll come to, you'll have a chance to meet them and ask any questions.
I did see an email come through. I didn't look at it.
Okay. So they've picked one. We'll look forward to seeing them. So thank you for allowing me to distribute that outage data update. I'd like to end the evening with some really good news. So while we were at CapCon, the MML Foundation, the Michigan Municipal League Foundation, awarded Farmington an additional local economies micro grant for $5,000 that will be given to the Downtown Development Authority to pilot the Farmington After Dark concept that the Business Development Committee has. Yeah, I know it sounds really saucy, right? Yeah. Farmington's DDA has long wanted to extend the weekend, right? And try to get more activity in the evenings and to entice some of the business owners to stay open later so that they can do more business. But without a funding source, it was really difficult to figure out how to pay for programming or help the business owners who are going to take the risk to stay open later. So this funding is really going to go a long way to allow us to pilot a program over the next couple of months within the DDA for the business owners to stay open a little bit later. Thursday nights is the primary target. That would extend the weekend is kind of the working phrase. But I was really excited to get the micro grant announcement from the foundation, and I know Jess was very excited to receive it as well. So on a positive note, Farmington got another check. It's not the same as the ones we got at the State of the Cities, but we'll take it. And downtown will show some benefit for it, and I think it'll start the flywheel that we need to get started to extend our weekend in downtown Farmington to be more than just Fridays and Saturdays. Thank you for indulging me, council. If there's nothing further this evening, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Balk, supported by Ms. Taylor. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned at 8:02 PM.